New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Special in the USA. Night 1 on Saturday, July 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. As you may know, we've spent the past 13 years expanding and refining our pro wrestling and MMA strategy. History is going to be made on July 1st as New Japan comes to the U.S. for the first time in nearly 45 years, and AXS TV is broadcasting pro wrestling live for the first time in our history. To make that all happen, I want to thank New Japan Pro Wrestling for allowing this to happen, and on our side specifically Adam Swift and Danny Zach, who without their love and tireless dedication of New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's no chance and no way this historic event would be coming to you live on AXS TV. On top of that, what takes New Japan on AXS TV to the 6-star level is the #1 broadcast team in the business today, Jim Ross and Josh Barnett. JR is the most recognizable name and voice in the business today. We're honored to work with JR and have him call this historic event for AXS TV. So I am sure most of the questions will be going to the man, JR, but I will turn it back to you, Sean, and thank you all for coming today.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Jim Ross, do you have anything you want to say here before we get started?
Well, I'll pull Nakata here. I got 3 things to say. 1, thank you. 2, this is going to be great. And 3, I got nothing else.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. If anybody has questions they'd like to submit now, go ahead and type them into the Q&A portion there in WebEx on the right-hand side. Or if you are calling in just over the phone, you're welcome to just email them over to me, and I can do it that way as well. My email is sgraben@axs.tv. And here we go. We have our first question. This, JR, is from Alex Windland, and he is from voicesofwrestling.com. The question is actually for both JR and for Andrew. He says, production values of the AXS TV program have really gone up since the initial run of episodes. How has that contributed to the growth of NJPW stateside, and what's next for the NJPW brand extension?
That's Andrew's question. He's the brains behind this outfit. I'm just another pretty face.
Andrew, you want to start?
I'll start it out, but then I'll turn it over to JR on the broadcasting side of it and how they probably gelled together as time has gone on. From our perspective, when we first started this, we really were interested in seeing how we would work with New Japan and whether the program would be accepted here in the United States. So originally we were taking finished programs from Japan from their weekly show that they run out there. And we brought it over here, and we were voicing them early on and kind of just going with what was given to us from our partners at TV Asahi. As time has gone on, we've kind of gotten a feel for what works best here in the U.S. and what people are liking. And along those lines, we're also able to get episodes in a much more time. We were about 6 to 8 months behind for a long time. And now we're catching up to the point getting Dominion shows and being able to show everything the day before we go live with a G1 Special in the USA. So we are now editing the programs in-house. Josh and JR are voicing those in a much more timely fashion. We're weeks away from the live events here in the U.S. on our weekly show, and it's all culminated with being able to do a live special. As for the production piece and the commentary piece, which really what I think sets us apart, I'll turn to JR on him working with Josh Barnett, which I think is as unique and amazing a team as there is in pro wrestling today.
Well, I've had a great time working with Josh, and he's in my style and Morrow's style, even though we have our similarities, I think we're a little bit different. And I wanted to make sure that Josh had a very prominent role in our team. He's got great knowledge of submissions. He has a phenomenal background as far as the New Japan and the Japanese culture in general. He's still an active fighter. He's actively training. His mind is still keen on the genre. So he's really been great for me, and I've learned a lot from Josh about submissions and Japanese culture. And I was always a fan of the New Japan product from way back in the 70s. But, you know, when they came on AXS TV, it opened the door for me to really sample New Japan on easier, you know. So I'm thinking that we're doing some good things, and I expect this event to be very unique in as much as that New Japan's producing a live event. Everybody's talking about it. We're talking about it right now. So they're going to produce a live event, and AXS TV is going to broadcast it. It's not a television show tailor-made for the network. It's a live event, no different than a Mayweather, what's his name, Conor McGregor thing, except our event will last longer. It will not be short and sweet, but, you know, I think the company's putting a 4-hour window here, so if you're going to DVR it, you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of room. But I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a different presentation, more athletically oriented in our narrative. We have zero control over what we see in the ring, who's wrestling who, all that stuff, nothing, and that's good. If I don't know anything about this show, the conclusions and all the creative, I'm tickled to death. I don't need to know anything. As long as you get on the monitor, I think we'll be okay. So it's going to be a really exciting weekend. It reminds me a little bit of the anticipation I had when we were preparing to do the first Clash of Champions on TBS, and it had minimal commercial interruptions. And by the way, these matches on July 1st will not have any interruptions with commercials. I think that helps the talent. I think it helps the audience stay engaged, and it's sure as hell a better live event experience. So, and everybody can't do that. AXS TV can, because good old Mark Cuban owns the network. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to be out there all week. So by the time Saturday night comes, I'm going to be so full of piss and vinegar that it's not even going to be funny. And this is big to me. So, you know, every opportunity I have at my stage of the game is big. And so I haven't had my best call yet. Maybe it's going to be July 1.
Fantastic. All right, this next question comes from Vaughn Johnson with the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he asks you, Jim, what does New Japan's expansion into the U.S. mean not only for Japan but also for the wrestling business as a whole?
Well, here's the answer to that. If it's successful, it could have obviously economic advantages for New Japan, and if it's successful, it would provide an additional enhanced competition to all the other promotions of the genre. So if successful, it's a good thing, and hopefully they will be successful. You know, I think it's good for the business in general, for as many promotions to be successful as they can. It gives the talents more places to work. It allows younger talents to get a shot at being really good on a higher level earlier. I think that's good. So I'm all in favor of any company expanding and growing and becoming more profitable. But you know, New Japan's got a unique opportunity here, and I think that the work that AXS TV has done for their brand is nothing short of extraordinary.
And this is Andrew. I'm going to chime in a little. Take a look that they sold out both those shows within hours. For 2 nights ago, they sold out all their tickets with zero marketing outside of the New Japan show on AXS TV. You kind of take a look at how big the wrestling world is becoming, that this Japanese show coming to the U.S. with zero marketing. I mean, wrestling promotions all over the globe would love to sell out shows without spending $1 on marketing. So I think this is a huge opportunity. I think it shows the reach and also the ability to build stars at New Japan. If you take a look at the rosters from the promotions around the world, the stars are coming from New Japan. I mean, you take a look at what's happening there, that Okada and Omega, and these guys are becoming household names. At the Bullet Club T-shirts are being sold at Hot Topic, that Marty Scurll becoming a big name out there and having commercials done on his behalf, that this is not just a Japanese promotion anymore. They're becoming a worldwide name.
This next question comes from Josh Barnett, who, yes, he shares the same name as our Josh Barnett, and he's with USA Today. His question for you, Jim, is Cody Rhodes is a year or so from WWE. How does this match and the title opportunity provide a proving ground for him?
Well, I don't know that the proving ground term is quite spot on. Might be. Maybe I'm splitting hairs. I think for any talent on July 1st that steps in the ring on this G1 Special on AXS TV is creating an opportunity for themselves to display the great things that they are able to do. Unfortunately, for some, it will also expose some of the deficiencies that they still need to work on. So with that said, Cody has an opportunity to close a show, a major event, a live television show, no net, against arguably one of the top small, hornswoggle-sized handfuls of talent in the world. No excuses. It's live. It's your show. Once the bell rings, the producers and all the coaching staff, they're gone. They're out of it. They're gone. These guys will call this match in the ring, is my belief, and it's up to them to have a great presentation. I think they will. But for Cody especially, it allows the whole world to see a very not an abbreviated syndicated TV look like he might get in a 6 or 8 minute match on Ring of Honor. Not knocking it, but that's just a fact of the matter. So I expect that match to go half an hour or more. I expect those guys to tear it down, and I expect them for Cody to be able to say, Cody Rhodes is a hell of a hand. He's better than I thought. Because I believe that every match Cody has on a high level is something that others are watching, including WWE, and that's just my assumption. But, you always pay attention if you're the big dog in the yard about who's out there and who you want to bring back into your yard. And Cody's a kid that I believe that someplace down the line will return to WWE in a big way and be very significant for the whole synergy of him and the company. And so this is a hell of a big opportunity. It's a big-time deal. He should feel pressure. Going into this thing too cool, being James Dean, might not be my attitude. I'm not saying that he's going to be that way, but there's nothing wrong with having a tight sphincter, figure of speech, obviously. But, it's just I think it's going to be great for him, and I'm looking forward to calling the match, and I'm sure Josh is as well. Okada's a master. He's just absolutely phenomenal. He's a main event guy in any promotion anywhere in the world. I know that's the old cliche, but damn, it's true. He's just had great match after great. Now, if he doesn't have one of Dave Meltzer's 5-star or whatever matches, the public then starts to think, Okada must be slipping. So you can't have 5 stars every outing, but he seems to pull him out of his hat more often than not. So I really like this matchup, and it's a great way to end this night historically. But for Cody Rhodes, he's not a made man yet. Okada is. Cody takes one more step in that direction based on how he performs on July 1.
All right. Next question here is from Scott Fishman, who is with TV Insider and Channel Guide Magazine. His question for you, Jim, is what has it been like getting acquainted with the New Japan Pro Wrestling product so intimately, and what has your preparation been like for this broadcast?
Intimately. I don't know what Scott's definition of intimately is. I'm watching a lot of the product, obviously, and I've started, YouTubing and things. But I've got a team of people that help me prepare. I've got, John Pollock up in Toronto is wonderful. Chris Charlton, Dave Meltzer, who's brilliant, obviously. And let me think who else. I'm leaving somebody out. I'll think about him in a minute. Paul Crockett. I've enlisted a small band. I don't know if they even know that the other's doing it. I get individual emails, and they give me great information. So I study, and I prepare. I read, and I'd rather read the material than go watch a match. I have never watched a New Japan match in advance of voicing it over. Don't intend to. So, but I've got a good crew there that helps me, provides me bullet-pointed, succinct information, and I read the hell out of it. I study it, and so then again, I got a great partner that's got great awareness of that whole dynamic. So I think that we've done fairly well on our narratives for those matches. So, but I enjoy the prep work. You know, you can ask some of my partners, the King and probably Paul. He would tell you that JR can be a real pain in the ass when it comes to prep work. So I've had to back away from that because as far as making or encouraging my partners to feel the same way. Everybody can't be as anal as me in that regard. So, but I like the prep work. So that's the whole deal. I respect the brand. You know, I've had, you know, I've made that one shot there at the Tokyo Dome back with WCW, which is a pretty big deal. Sure had a big crowd. Then I was there at Wrestle Kingdom 9. That was really fun, unique. I had never experienced anything like it before or since from a production standpoint. But I had I've had good experiences with that. And a lot of the talents I'm aware of, you know, some of these talents I've had in England for some of the matches. So I've got a pretty good product awareness. Can always be better, but I think we'll be fine on July 1. We'll be fine next week when we're voicing over the Dominion matches. I know that we're doing Okada and Omega in its entirety. And we're doing Naito and Tanahashi in its entirety. That's a pretty damn good night of wrestling. So that'll be Friday night before our big kickoff in Long Beach.
All right. Next question here is from Garrett Martin with Paste Magazine. And the question is, what can American wrestling promotions learn from New Japan?
Oh, gosh, heck, we can all keep learning, I think, can't we? I don't know. American promotions vary. There's one big dog at the top of the page. Then there's a great big gap. And obviously, nobody out-markets or promotes WWE with all their resources and their abilities for social media and their reach. It's pretty astonishing. I think the American promotions can learn that. I think they can learn more from the New Japan dojo maybe than any other specific area, because the way that the New Japan company trains high-level prospects is pretty phenomenal, I think. So from a promotional standpoint, I don't know. I'd have to give that a lot of thought. But from a training people, and I love the way that WWE's got a performance center is second to none, as we've all seen. But there's a philosophy somewhere. There's a philosophy, a unique philosophy of how New Japan trains their young boys, as they call them, that is hard to replicate. But for whatever unique reasons, it works. And that might be the one thing I would look at is they're so successful from that dojo, these kids coming out of the dojo, and men now are legends, that they've done it for year after year after year. So they're doing something right that maybe others should try to evaluate.
All right. Now, Andrew, this next question is for you. This is from Robert Samo with Fanboy Nation. And his question says that this is truly a historical event, as you mentioned, by bringing New Japan Pro Wrestling to the U.S. for professional wrestling fans. Will this also allow Japanese audience access to AXS TV programming and to view MMA that is aired on the station? So his question is, will this be available for Japanese fans anywhere?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at that question. A few things. You know, we have a huge history in working with the Japanese promotions going back to K1 and K1 Max and Dream and Sengoku. And at AXS TV, we've always been big fans of the Japanese culture and their style of combat sports and pro wrestling. When you take a look at the specific event of the G1 Special in the USA, Night 1 is live exclusively in the U.S. on AXS TV, but the broadcast will be seen around the globe on New Japan World, so they will be able to watch that show in Japan and have it with our broadcast team of JR and Josh Barnett. And then if I take a look at the second part of this question, are the Japanese audiences going to have access to our programming from an MMA perspective? Not yet. You know, we are looking to license our MMA programming internationally. We are currently seeing, I believe, in 25 countries today that are able to watch our MMA programming. But New Japan controls their programming for the rest of the globe outside the U.S. So, again, we will be having this broadcast live in the U.S. on AXS TV. The rest of the world will be able to watch it on New Japan World. And, you know, we're always looking to expand our footprint and people being able to see the programming.
Great. All right. This next question is for you, Jim, and it comes from Raj Giri with WrestlingInc.com. And he wants to know, while doing commentary for both WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling right now, do you find yourself having to change your style at all between the two products?
Not a bit. Not at all. You broadcast what you see in your style. By and large, that's how I work. It's especially how I work now. It's just natural instincts, and both companies have been very, very good about allowing me to express myself and to interpret the matches to the very, very best of my ability. Find my rhythm. And once you do that on anybody's company, you generally do a better job. So there's no difference. The product is sometimes different, but there's certainly, you know, it's still, it's almost like calling football. It's still the game. It's still the game. It's still wrestling. And so for me, I watch a wrestling match on my monitor, or if I'm live in an arena, which makes it 10 times better, I watch what the cameramen provide me, and I describe it accordingly with how I feel about how the story's progressing and the execution of the talents. All the while, you want to put the talents over as the best you can. And sometimes it's the best not to say anything and let the crowd provide the lyric. But again, it's the same old deal. I've said this a million times. People are tired of hearing it. The wrestlers make the music, and the announcers provide the lyrics. So it all starts with the music. And so the difference in the broadcasting is just your own feel and what lyric you want to put on the music that you're seeing.
All right. And this next question here is from Josh Barnett with USA Today, and he wants to know, is there a favorite in your mind, Jim, for the IWGP United States Champion Tournament that they're holding throughout the weekend?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's one of the great things about good booking is that there are more than one right way to get something done. And generally, historically in pro wrestling, over the annals, the years, decades, certainly since I've been in it since the 70s, there's generally more than one right way to get something done. So now, with all that said, there are several guys I think has a shot at it, but to narrow it down, I'm going to give you one answer is Kenny Omega. Omega's going to be probably in Long Beach as popular, if not the most popular performer in the building. He is and it's a unique dynamic. You know, he's not American. He's not a U.S. guy. So I don't necessarily think it's going to have to be a U.S. guy. Is Michael Elgin in the hunt or Jay Lethal? Sure. There's several guys. There's, you know, we got Zack Saber's another. He's a Brit. So I think that Omega is a unique choice for that. But it may be that he has been positioned now so much higher that he can't go back to a new title. I don't know. It's an idea. It's a thought. It would shock me if Omega's not the IWGP champion, sooner than later. He's got so much momentum, and smart bookers always jump onto the guy that's got the momentum. And right now, Kenny Omega is very topical. So I would say my safe booking would be to make Omega the U.S. champion if it isn't perceived that he needs bigger and better things.
Great. All right. Now, this next question here comes from Alex Wendland again with Voices of Wrestling. And his question for you, Jim, is from a product standpoint, how has New Japan, their in-ring style, helped or hindered the company's expansion in North America?
Well, I don't know how it would. The in-ring style is, wrestling is not all, wrestling presentations is like a great menu in a wonderful restaurant. If you say that the genre is the restaurant and you look at the menu, there are certain things on the menu, there's probably more than one thing on the menu that you like. So I'm of the belief that there's a lot of good wrestling on available now. That's why I say, even on my podcast, I probably wear it out, but damn, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. There's a lot of different good wrestling, different key. And so, their style, I don't know if they're New Japan style. I don't know what their style is. Fundamentally sound. I think sometimes they're not unlike any other promotion in that some of their talents do ill-fated spots for the sake of filling time, all the while creating awkward segues and putting themselves in more danger for very little reward. So I don't know that, they're fundamentally sound. The guys work hard. They work very snug. And when I say fundamentally sound, some people don't even understand. My definition of fundamentally sound is snug. It is overt physicality. It is psychologically sound presentations. Don't make me roll my eyes and don't do things that are so obscenely illogical that you take me out of the moment for the sake of a little bit of humor or to be cute. You've just defeated your. Now, if you want to be cute and have humor, fine, but do it in a cute, humorous match, not in drama time. So I don't know that their style has affected anybody, yea, good, bad, or indifferent. They are very fundamentally sound. The talents work extremely hard. I like their physicality more often than not. They lay their stuff in, sometimes in a very uncomfortable way. And so but you can't say anything bad about the way that they wrestle. Gosh, it's just, like I said, it's an old school type approach with a few modern whistles and bells, all the while not deviating too far, more often than not, from fundamental soundness.
Great. All right. This next question here is, let's see, is another one from Robert Samo, and he wants to know, Jim, what can a fan who has never seen New Japan before but has decided to either buy a ticket or tune into the event on AXS TV, what can they expect from the experience?
Well, they can expect to see a very exciting, athletically oriented pro wrestling event that's generally very straightforward in its presentation. So even if you're not up on all the New Japan storylines, but you like athleticism, you like old school drama in a pro wrestling presentation, like back in the quote-unquote old days, whenever that was, then I think that's what this event on July 1st is going to resemble. So it's just they're not doing anything that many haven't seen before. They just do the little things better than most.
Great.
And Sean, this is Andrew, and along those lines, for these last two questions, one of the things that attracted us to New Japan was that strong style, that it wasn't all hokey soap opera storylines. That we were attracted when we brought New Japan to AXS TV was that it fit in with our MMA focus on the network, that we were doing 40-plus MMA events a year. And when we were looking for a pro wrestling promotion, and New Japan fit right in there because of that strong style, because they work snug, because of the realism in the events that they are something like I believe that we don't see anywhere else. And that really was attractive to AXS TV, and having the opportunity to do it live, I think it'll look like nothing else on TV.
Now, we've got another question here for you, Andrew, kind of a two-parter from Raj Giri with Wrestling Inc. The first part is, has there been talk of doing more New Japan live events this year, or is it more of a wait and see depending on how this goes? And then he also wants to know a bit about the production. Will the production be different than how New Japan does their shows in Japan, and what level of input we've had in producing these?
Let me take the first part first. We are doing this event live, and we're going to see, the reaction from the fans, the media, how people tune in, and make sure that it's a success we believe it will be. And then, no doubt, if New Japan comes back to the U.S., then the opportunity is there for us to do more shows live. No doubt, we would be all over trying to do more shows live with New Japan. On the second part, the production will be a bit different than Japan. We are actually doing the production. We'll have our own TV production truck, our people that work on the mixed martial arts side with input from the New Japan folks that will also be there with some of their camera people, and we'll have a joint team putting together the production. But we have our own graphics package that we produced for New Japan. So it will look a little bit different. It's a live event, so anything can happen. Our guys will be there, and I think it'll be shot in a way. We do have production experience in the pro wrestling world from the past, having worked in this arena. So we're real excited. But it will have a little bit of a different look and feel going live here from the U.S. and with our production team in combination with theirs.
The one thing about this show, too, that's going to make it very unique is that intangible that New Japan can't control, AXS TV can't control, no one can control, and that's the ambient sounds, the organic soundtrack that the fans are going to provide. This venue is very intimate. I'm thinking, what, 2,000 or 3,000 seats, something like that. It's not a stadium thing. It's not it's not the Staples Center. It's a more intimate environment, which should lead for a great-looking TV show, but maybe more importantly, a loud, enthusiastic TV show. Now, if these folks can maintain it for north of 3 hours, which I assume that show is going to be, then God bless them. I hope they can. But I think the atmosphere of this show is going to be very, very unique. And all the elements that we've been talking about, the uniqueness, the first time, the historic stuff. There's fans flying in from all over the country to Long Beach. And a couple of buddies of mine told me about that, and it was hard to believe that many fans were making the trek. But I admire them. I can tell you that. But I think the atmosphere is going to be really, really good because the wrestling fans in general love to anticipate things. Even though many will bitch about wrestling creative being predictable, when predictable is the right thing to do, for some people it doesn't matter because it was just predictable, which I find to be really, really ignorant. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do. And predictability then is a bonus if you can create that. But nonetheless, I'm going off on a tangent, but I do that sometimes. So I just think that the atmosphere is going to be really, really cool, and it really helps everybody stay emotionally engaged to the product. And when you've got fewer commercial interruptions, that means you have to start and stop your motor all the time. So this show is going to be I think it's got a potential to be a real big hit if we can all, pull together and in a team effort and rock and roll. Again, all Andrew and his team can do is show you the pictures. We ain't got nothing to do with what you're going to see, and I think that's not any bad thing. I don't know that Fox TV last year had anything to do with the Super Bowl play calling either. But they captured the moments and the images of the Super Bowl. I think that's kind of our mindset. This is kind of a Super Bowl that's, in essence, a unique event, maybe more of a World Cup feel. I don't know. A lot of international talent on the card. Japanese and Canadians and Americans. So it's going to be a really historic event for so many ways, I think, in this, and they can't get here fast enough for me. I'm ready to go.
All right. On that note, Michael Stetz from MMAplus.com wants to know, how excited are you to call New Japan live as opposed to in studio, and what will calling it live add to the broadcast?
Well, it'll add a lot to the broadcast, without question. Without question. You know, it's a difference in being in a room with dotted with television monitors and 2 chairs, and there's 2 of you in there, and your connection to the outside world is through your headset. That's voiceovers. That's voiceovers everywhere. It's a sterile environment, and the good announcers can make you think that they're not sitting in a room with 2 chairs looking at a television monitor talking. But there's nothing like being on site for a live event. Nothing. So it's a difference in it's a lot different. If I don't sound, Josh and I don't sound better July 1, then shame on us. We got no excuse. That atmosphere is going to will jack you up, and it'll be great. And I think you know, and you look. People start overanalyzing. You say, well, how's JR going to do with the he did WrestleMania, and then I don't compare anything to the last one. It doesn't matter. The last one is the last one. I have a style that I like to use. If I feel comfortable doing it, I'm still a fan broadcasting. So consequently, I'm going to call it like I feel and like I see, and I hope that that's good enough for everybody. But boy, being live just gives you that much more gas, and it gives you more stamina, I think, to make sure, you know, no matter what we do on July 1, probably the last hour of say a 3-hour show, that last hour, there's a lot of money to be made in that last hour. You got to deliver. There's no option. There's no, well, do the best you can. Well, no, you'll be tired. Bullshit. That don't work. Nobody wants to hear that. So we got to deliver the goods, and thank God it's in a live event. I will tell you that if we were doing a simulcast of some sort back at the studio of that event, it would be a whole lot more challenging. That would almost be like work. And God knows nobody wants to work, so I want to have fun, and having fun will be being at ringside in that arena.
All right, Andrew, this next question's for you. It's from Jim Barcelone with Miami Herald, and his question is, Andrew, what will make this event a success for AXS TV? And he also wants to know what will make it success ratings-wise.
That's a great question. I think, you know, if we see an increase in the audience overall, obviously from our weekly tape show, that we see the increased social interaction, the excitement leading up to it, if we see blowout results, if we see the advertisers coming in on those limited breaks between matches, if we get additional sponsorship, all those pieces that make it up, but more importantly, if it's an unbelievable experience, you know, for fans to get a live multi-hour broadcast. You know, this is our first time in history at the network going live with pro wrestling. Is the audience there to sit there for 4 hours on a Saturday night, and will they stay for the whole thing? And I, as a fan, would in a second. I have been a combat sports and pro wrestling fan since I was born, and to me, there's nothing more exciting we're doing on the network right now than New Japan Pro Wrestling on July 1st. So I think all of us involved don't think there's any doubt that this is the first of a great new opportunity to do live shows on the network. So I think when we take a look at it, if the fans come in to have the level of excitement we have on our side, I hope this is one of many that we do in the future, because we really believe in the product. We think we have the best pro wrestling product around today. We know we have the best announce team out there with JR and Josh, and I think this is just such a big opportunity for the network to prove that we are in this business, that we understand the business, which is a big part of why we do it on the network. Going back to our Ring of Honor days, you know, and doing that to today going to New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, Adam Swift, myself, Danny, we're not just some TV guys who, hey, you know, pro wrestling would be cool to have on the network and we hope it pops ratings. We actually love pro wrestling. We're fans of it. We watch it. We would watch it if it wasn't on our network. And so I think that excitement on our side and with Mark Cuban to the top, you know, that's the difference you get with our network. It's that we are invested in this product, not only from we hope the ratings are there, but because we love it ourselves and want to see it thrive.
Fantastic. All right, this next question here comes from Justin Barrasso, who is with Sports Illustrated for you, Jim. And he wants to know, does Kazuchika Okada need to prove himself to the American fan base? He's had classics on AXS TV and on New Japan World over the past 12 months, but there is no exception to winning over a live crowd in front of a sellout show on national television. Will July 1st be a proving ground for Okada?
I don't think a proving ground is how I would term it. I understand Justin's question, but no, I don't. I'd say no in using those terms. You know, his body of work for those that follow New Japan Pro Wrestling is, you know, nothing short of extraordinary. I mean, how many great matches has he had already this year? I don't know who the, you know, proverbial or mythical wrestler of the year is going to be by anybody's publication or vote or whatever. But if he's not in the top 1, 2, or 3, maybe somebody's not paying attention. So I think that he's got to go out there, though. The pressure's on him. He's got a huge reputation, a legacy that he's building to uphold. He can't have a bad match in America on the debut in the maiden voyage, live TV, like was described by Justin in that question. So I don't think it's a proving ground. I think it's just another great opportunity to kick some ass and let the world see what he can do. And I promise you, if he continues to write these symphonies, we'll continue to give the appropriate lyrics.
All right. And just a little bit off topic to change gears for a second, Dan Gelston from the Associated Press was wanting to know your thoughts on Mike Goldberg and Mauro Ranallo joining Bellator for their pay-per-view event.
I'm very happy that both Mauro and Mike, you know, have got back into a bigger level of MMA. They're both have contributed a tremendous amount to the broadcasting of that genre over the years, and certainly when it was not as popular and there wasn't as much money involved for all involved. So I'm happy to see them back in the game. I enjoy both their work. I'm curious as to how they'll be booked, if you will, produced, maybe a better term. I know how I would do it, and how I would do it would include Mauro being the play-by-play guy. And then however else you want to fix your roles, to me, Mike Goldberg is a great spokesman, be a good voice for Bellator, an anchor kind of a guy. I like him in that role. He's believable and mature within the genre. So what he says means something. He has credibility. And credibility in that anchor role is a pretty important thing. And then Mauro is just absolutely off the page as far as the play-by-play is concerned. And Jimmy Smith complements that real well. I would not go 3 in a booth. I would go Goldberg in a separate position and Mauro and Jimmy at cage side and let them roll. So, but I'm glad to see them back. They'll add some spice to the MMA people, the fans like myself that like MMA, and I watch a lot of it. And the soundtrack is just so damned important. And that creating that soundtrack with those additional voices, and I hate to see my friend Sean Grandy leave. I understood why and endorse his decision. He made it longer than I would have doing double duty. But I'm anxious to hear the dynamic of those fellas, but I think it'll be encouraging. I think it'll be fun, and I wish them the best of luck. That's going to be June 24th in Madison Square Garden. I had Matt Mitrione on my podcast, and here now, and he is very much looking forward to fighting in the Garden, and who wouldn't? So it's the Garden. It's a big pay-per-view, so I wish them the best of luck, and I think they'll do fine.
All right, Andrew, a question for you here. Michael Stetz with the MMA Plus was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Michael's departure from AXS TV fights and what that means for the network.
Sure. Michael Chavello was with the network. Again, I think it was from 2008 was when we discovered him over there at K1 and Dream. In 2009, we signed him to a long-term deal with the network. A little over a year and a half ago, maybe when we were redoing Michael's contract, you know, he kind of said, you know, he had one child, and then once his wife was pregnant with the second child, he really started thinking more about his family and where he wanted to raise them and have his kids go to school home in Australia. And we put together a one-year deal because, you know, life, as much as we all love what we do, it's about family and friends. And I think after nearly 8-9 years here in the United States, he wanted to go back to Australia, and we wanted to give him the opportunity to do that, you know. I mean, so we put together that deal, and when it came to an end, he was, you know, saying it was time, and we did that. And again, I think it was a great step for Michael. And for the network, you know, we're going with Ron Kruk this week with an incredible card with 2 title fights at LFA, and then the debut of Sage Northcutt's sister, Colby Northcutt. We actually were able to shoot some footage of her training this weekend in California, and we're just moving forward. I mean, we are the home of MMA, and we've been that way for over a decade, producing more live mixed martial arts than any TV network in the world. And we're just trooping forward. The UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich is staying there. And I think we are going to be right where we've always been with the best commentary teams in pro wrestling and mixed martial arts.
All right. Jim, another question for you here from Alex Wendland with Voices of Wrestling, and he wants to know, the only 2 Japanese competitors in the tournament going against each other in the first round, talking about the USA, IWGP USA champion.
Yeah, Naito and Ishii.
Yeah, he wants to know about your thoughts on the mashup and either of their chance to run the table in the tournament.
Well, you know, Naito's coming off a hell of a hot streak, and the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to inadvertently retard the talent's ability to get back on that roll. You know, Naito loses the Intercontinental title to Tanahashi, which we'll see in its entirety on Friday night, June 30th. But Ishii running the table will be a long shot. Even though I love his work, he's fun. His matches are fun as hell to call. Some of us ain't got no neck, and he's tough as hell. I love him. But Naito's a guy that he's probably want to get back on track somehow, some way. So, you know, if you wanted a great TV match in the finals, Omega and Naito would be a tremendous final for a television product. Now, I have no idea if it fits the long-term booking direction of New Japan or not. But nonetheless, as a television broadcaster and a fan and wanting to have the best match in the finals that we could generate, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better one than Naito and Omega. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, that was great.
Hey, by the way, you know, Andrew mentioned about the announced teams for wrestling and for MMA. Here's what will never happen. It will never occur that those gentlemen mentioned earlier from the wrestling team or the MMA team will have a television angle or a match or an arm wrestling contest, maybe a beer drinking contest or an eating contest, but nothing physical. So the thing that you fans, I'm just trying to make you guys just know that you'll not be seeing that on either of those Friday night broadcasts. Ain't gonna happen. Some of you will understand what I'm saying, and some of you won't. And for those that don't, it don't matter.
All right. We're gonna ask one more question here, and then I think we'll have time for maybe one more just after that. So from Alex Wendland, he wanted to know, and this is for you, Andrew, is you already covered this, that we're going to have we're going to have our team on our broadcast team on the New Japan broadcast. He's wondering, is digital cannibalization a concern for AXS TV with New Japan World, or do you think those are different audiences for us?
You know, and I want to clarify one thing. You know, the broadcast will be on in Japan on TV Asahi later that night. You know, so they're going to be doing it later that day on TV Asahi. As for, you know, digital cannibalization over the top, you know, that's a pretty big question overall. I don't believe this is an issue for us in the United States today. I mean, we're in nearly 50 million homes with AXS TV. New Japan World, you know, and whether it's WWE Network or New Japan World or any over-the-top service from UFC Fight Pass today, the penetration levels for a TV network are far greater. So the opportunity for 50 million people to see this event live is greater than any other platform out there today in the combat sports world, you know, for people to watch the New Japan show live. So I don't really see it being a cannibalization concern today. New Japan obviously is the creator of the content, and they do an incredible job. And for those fans that are interested in watching everything and anything, and in the middle of the night, it's there. For people that want to see the best commentary team out there and watch it with the U.S. broadcast team of JR and Josh Barnett, I think we really have put together a product that is unique and different. And we really haven't seen any issues out there on cannibalization. And the opportunity to do this live, we're hoping to take it to a new level where AXS TV really, where we became known as the home of MMA for over the last decade. We want to be the home of New Japan Pro Wrestling, where people come and try to see the best pro wrestling with the best commentating team out there and know where it is, you know, that we're on every Friday night, and that's where you're going to catch it. And this specific event, you know, where it's a special event, that's why it's one night only special event live, July 1st to Saturday night, and that's the big unique test. We want to make sure all the viewers come, find it, watch it live, and we bring a new product to the market, which is live pro wrestling in the United States. Again, you know, on a major network. I don't know if it's done all that often outside of us in USA.
Fantastic. All right, last question here. And Michael Stetz with MMA Plus wants to know from you, Jim, speaking from the MMA side of things, would you have interest in ever calling live MMA events?
Oh, sure. I'm a broadcaster, storyteller. I'd love to call a live MMA event somewhere down the road, you know, more. I did the one pay-per-view with Chael Sonnen a couple years ago. But I was, you know, doing you know, Andrew knows it. You know, if they got into a jam, somebody got ill, you know, God forbid, or vacation or whatever, or something. You know, 1 week I could fill in for anybody. And working with a guy like Pat, all you got to do, then you're just a point guard. Your job is to get the ball to Pat. Pat's the Hall of Famer. So get in, get on the air, get off the air, and give the ball to Pat. Simple. And prepare. Know who the hell what you're talking about. Yeah, I'd love to do that sometime. It would be fun. That's why I like doing new projects. You know, I did this NXT takeover, those two UK kids. Well, I had never seen them before. You know, I had been back in a WWE live event environment in a long, long time. It was new. It was the unknown. I was excited to do it. And the same thing with, you know, doing this live event. It's new and it's fresh. And, you know, Josh and I have never worked a live event together, ever. We're not going to, we practice, I guess, with our voiceovers, but it's a different ball game when you're sitting there live. And so I just think it's a, you know, new production crew. You know, even though Andrew's crew, they do a great job in MMA, this is wrestling. It's got its own nuances. It's got a little different flavor to it. So we're all taking maiden voyages, and that's what's exciting. So but yeah, that's why my answer to your MMA question, Michael, is that yeah, I'd love to do it one weekend. It'd be fun. It'd be fun, the preparation and the hype and the build-up, and then doing a live event. So that's what we do. Now, hey, I would say the same thing if Andrew said, hey, JR, we're going to do kickboxing. We're going to do a boxing show. Are you available to do some play-by-play? Hell yeah, of course. How about football? You get a baseball gig, I'll do that too. It's all good stuff, and it's all new, and so I'm open to any of those type things. But right now, I'm somewhat focused on one thing, and that's wrestling, and specifically July 1st, because that's I didn't expect to have the return to call the last match at WrestleMania. Didn't think that would ever happen, and I never thought that after the first Clash of Champions that I would have the same mystique over an event that I have for this. Because again, the Clash was Shivani and I worked together, two play-by-play guys that have never been a team. The production crew had never done live wrestling. It was an adventure, just like July 1. So, it's just one of those great things that you stay in. You're blessed to be alive, and you can hang around long enough. Sometimes good things come back around, and I think we got something very special coming around the corner on Saturday night, July 1st. And again, 5 o'clock on the East Coast is the start, or Pacific. 5 o'clock in California is the starting time. But the damn show may last 4 hours. Seriously, no joke. So you don't get shortchanged on your DVRs or your TiVos.
All right, before we sign off, we got one more question in here for you, Jim. Since Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather has been the talk of the town lately, how much would you like to call about like Mayweather versus McGregor, and maybe your thoughts on how it ties into the history of combat sports, such as Ali versus Inoki?
Oh, it's intriguing, obviously, for the same reasons I just gave earlier about doing MMA. It's just adventures. I'm not looking to, I'm at a different stage of my life. I'm really the best stage because I don't have any pressure to look for what's my next gig going to be. Or I wonder if I do good at this, I'll get to keep my job. It's just I don't have those pressures anymore. And so I would love to, that event, that whole event's going to have a whole hell of a lot more sizzle, more than likely, than steak. And I think, being a pro wrestling broadcaster for all these years, we get pretty versed in creating sizzle. So, Morrow's going to do it. Morrow will do great. And then my friend Al Bernstein's going to be alongside. That's going to be really an adventure for Al. But Al's a smart guy and got great instincts, Hall of Famer. So I know they'll do fine. But it would be fun. Yeah, it'd be a fun gig, and because you got to be able to. If they market it right, they'll create an interest for the wrestling fans and the combat sports fans if it's marketed correctly. Because you can't, I don't know that boxing purists may be pissing all over it. I don't know. Because it sure as hell ain't pure. Many of those old-timers boxing guys don't even think that Floyd's pure anymore. He's past his prime. He will be 50-0 if he wins this fight. Hasn't been talked about a lot, but so I think it's an interesting attraction. Look, I'll close it with this. I bought a hell of a lot of Mike Tyson fights on pay-per-view in my lifetime that I knew pretty damn well wasn't going to go past 3 minutes. It was an attraction. It was something about the majesty and the mystique of the event. If this match is marketed properly, not like the boxing event that was on HBO this past weekend, which is a great secret to the most general public, that they can hype this thing up to where it is that car crash that you can't turn your eyes away from. It's the same reason that people watch the Daytona 500. It ain't to see who wins, it's to see who crashes. So I believe that somebody's going to crash with Mayweather and McGregor, obviously. I mean, and it's so unpredictable. There's no precedent for it. You ought to prepare that it may not last 3 minutes, or maybe it does. So there's a whole big story behind it. I think it would be fun to tell, but it's in good hands with the Showtime folks and Morrow and his crew.